Let's talk about the solutions for the much awaited Prelims 2020 paper. We will be solving it in 5 sets. So let's begin with the first 20 questions. Now most of the questions in the first 20 set, we had questions from science and tech and history that have been covered so far. Now the question asks about carbon nanotubes. Now carbon nanotubes is one of the recent technologies that has been developed, and it has been developed that these could be broken down by oxidative enzymes. That means they are biodegradable, so that makes it correct. Again, they can be used for making artificial blood capillaries, using those as a carriers for drugs. So both of these are again correct. And recently one of the studies have quoted its use for biochemical sensors. Now biochemical sensors is a technology which has been used by NASA recently, and it's trying to fuse the micro and the nanotechnological concepts mainly for space explorations. So using those for biological purposes has been very important. So we have all these four as the correct option for this question. The next question talks about the activities being used for the activities the drones are being used for. Drones have been used for numerous activities. Now, spraying of pesticide was something that was part of the Down to Earth series that we have covered, and that was mainly for the locusts that had spread in India. So, we have discussed the application of the unmanned aerial vehicles there itself. The next was definitely if it's an active volcano, human intervention gets difficult. So, drones can be sent for detection, and Stromboli volcano is one where it has been experimented. The next is collecting the breath samples of the whales for DNA analysis. This has been done near the coast of Massachusetts. So again, a very significant development, and this would bring in a numerous vision for understanding sea creatures, which has not been done so far yet. So all these three are the correct options for this question. Coming on to next, now this is an interesting question asked about LISA Pathfinder. Now this was one of the very expected questions. So LISA is laser interferometer space antenna, and it basically focuses on employing a kind of trio, which we could say, which would give you a kind of shape of equilateral triangle. Now here it mentions of a side of 1 million kilometer long, but it's actually up to 5 million kilometers that they can entangle, and then you would have laser beams that could be used. So you would have LISA Pathfinder as the right option here. The next question talks about an interesting study. Now, genetic changes can be introduced in the cells, not the cells that produce the sperm and the eggs, but the cells of the prospective parents itself. So this statement is not correct. A person's genome can be edited before birth at the embryonic stage, and this was where the CRISPR's technology for issues related to ethics in biology have been debated, because it was the Genoki and his technology that it was called in, and this was the efforts from where you had living babies which were experimented, and there were issues of ethical concerns regarding this. So this has been one of the major studies. So this is correct statement. The third statement is kind of mismatched. The idea was pig-induced stem cells have been used for human studies, not the vice versa. So again, third is incorrect, but this pig-induced cells have been used significantly for lots and lots of studies and culture technologies. So you have only two as the right option for this question. The next is Pneumococcal Conjugate Vaccine is effective against pneumonia, meningitis and sepsis. Now, as we could see, there were lots and lots of questions from NCBI. So refer the recent articles of NCBI very carefully. Again, definitely with this vaccine, the dependence on antibiotics is reduced by nearly 47%. So dependence on the antibiotics that are not effective against the bacteria can be reduced, but every vaccine, most of the vaccines we would say, would come with side effects and allergic reactions. So third is incorrect here. So you would have 1, and 2 as the right option. It says not effective, so that means it's correct. So you would have 1 and 2 as the right option. The next is public key infrastructure, very common technology that is used for authenticating users and devices in the digital world for security purposes. Issuing of certificates is being used, so you have A as the right option, that is for digital security. The next is, this is a very basic question of NCERT class 9th cell chapter. So if you have gone through the NCERT lectures that we have already covered, you would find this lecture there itself. The idea is plant cells have cellulose cell wall, however animal cells do not. So that is a correct statement. Then you have plant cells do not have the plasma membrane unlike animal cells, that is incorrect. Both plant cell as well as animal cells have the plasma membrane. However, in plant cell you have one bigger vacuole that is seen and smaller vacuoles in animal cells. So again this is correct. So you would have 1 and 3 as the right option for this question. The next question talks about sources for benzene pollution. Now the most common sources that you would come across is tobacco, and this is one of the major sources in mainly United States, where it constitutes nearly top 20 chemicals by volume in tobacco smoke itself. Wood burning and varnishes use benzene in a significantly higher amount. Vehicle exhaust is obviously one of the right options, and then you have items made of polyurethane that also uses the various methyl benzenes and the compounds of benzenes. So that is again correct. So you would have all the 5 that are correct here. Now, as we have always seen, 1 or 2 questions related to types of pollution have been asked every time. Last time it was VOCs, this time it is benzene. The next question talks about global financial crisis. Now, this is again with the COVID pandemic a very expected question. Now, under a crisis scenario, a financial crisis scenario, we would have issues related to long-term foreign borrowings. However, it would not that depend on the short-term borrowings. Opening of the foreign banks would not be that explicit reason to get out of this issue of financial crisis. But yes, capital account convertibility is a good way, because capital account convertibility basically allows the Indian currency to be freely converted foreign back into any of the foreign currencies. Now this would make the inflow of foreign investment much more easier and definitely help to slow down the pace of the financial crisis. So 3 alone would be one of the best options that could be given there. Now the next is, if you are withdrawing rupees 1 lakh in cash from your demand deposit account. Now demand deposit accounts are the M1 accounts. These are already discussed in our economics class 11th NCERT lectures. So just go on to the type of money supply M1, M2, M3, M4 that we have covered, the time deposits, demand deposits. So that is important for you to understand. Now demand deposits, since they are integral part of M1 deposits, what is important is, if you have more money into the hands, there would be more money into the market. So this would help the increase in the amount for more than 1 lakh. So if it is 1 lakh as of now, if it is into the market and into circulation, it would increase. So you would have the money supply that would increase. So you would have C as the right option. The next question talks about paramitas. Now paramitas, the word itself is used as a Buddhist term for perfection. Now knowing that only, you can solve this question and 3 becomes your right option here. So perfections whose attainment leads to Bodhisattva path, that would be the right option. This question talks about Rakhmabai case. Now Rakhmabai case was an interesting case in history, where she was married at a very young age and then she had to fight for the rights, and it was mainly the restitution of conjugal rights along with the age of consent, since she was the age of consent was later on increased after this case was filed. So both 2 and 3 are applicable here. So you would have 2 and 3 as the right option. Now this is one of the popular cases that we have seen. The next is indigo cultivation. Indigo cultivation declined by the beginning of 20th century. Why? Now we have seen that blue rebellion was there, where you had a lots of revolt that was with the indigo planters, but that was not the real reason for the decline. The real reason for the decline, as we have already studied in our NCERT history lectures, was because of the development of synthetic material or the synthetic indigo that was seen, and that was the unprofitability that was because of the indigo due to the inventions of the new methods or the synthetic dyes that had come up. So 2 becomes your right option here. The next question is, Wellesley established Fort William College at Calcutta because he wanted to revive the Oriental learning in India. Now, his contribution we have already covered in our history NCERT lectures. Again, there was a bit confusion here. His idea was not to train the civilians. So a lot of students got confused here. So make sure his idea was not to train the civilians, but to revive the interest of for the Oriental learning. Okay. The next is, this was a question from Birsa Munda rebellion. We have already covered this in our NCERT history series. So again, just go back and refer NCERT history. Ulgulan is basically meaning the Great Tumult, and this was with the Munda rebellion, that was very popular tribal uprising in the region of Ranchi in present day Jharkhand. The next is, which of the following and literatures are closely associated? Now, Panini is associated with Shunga dynasty, but not directly with Pushpamitra Shunga. Pushpamitra Shunga was there around 4000 to 500 BCE and Panini around 145 to 185 BCE. So there has been a difference there. So this is not correct. Amar Simha was the poet, and he was the poet of or a grammarian basically at the time of Vikramaditya. So again, this is incorrect. Kalidas is associated with Chandragupta too. So that is correct. So 3 only is the correct option, and this was a general question from the history section. The next is pro-nuclear transfer technology. Now, pro-nuclear transfer technology is first of all an in vitro fertilization technique, and it involves the transfer of pronuclei from one zygote to another. This is used mainly recently for the cure of mitochondrial DNA diseases. So you have D as the right option. It is a very significant application of the PNT technology or the pro-nuclear transfer technology that is there. The next question talks about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has been used for text-to-speech conversion, has been used for diagnosis of disease and cut down the electricity consumption. Definitely, you can switch off all those electric appliances which are not in use. So that is one way which could be artificially done. So these 3 are the right options, but meaningful things have not been so far created with artificial intelligence, and wireless transmission of electrical energy has not been done. So you have 2 and 5 that are incorrect, and 1, 3 and 4 as the right option for this question. The next is visible light communication technology is in the spectrum of 375 to 780 nanometers. It is known for short range. It's not a long range. So this is incorrect. Again, it can transmit huge amount of data much faster than Bluetooth technology, definitely, and it does not have any electromagnetic interference. So so 4th one, you need not to go till that. If you know the first and the second, you can definitely answer that, because first is right, second is wrong. So only choice that could be correct is C here. So you would have C as the right option. And the last question for this segment talks about blockchain technology. Blockchain, a very important topic. We have covered this in detail. So if you want, you can just go back to the lecture to understand that in detail. Now, this is a public ledger which could be edited by anyone and inspected by anyone. So there is no single user that controls it. It has been significantly used in cryptocurrencies, bitcoins, and one of the applications we have discussed there, but it is not the only application. So the word only is very tricky here. So make sure you read the questions very carefully. And the last is the application that depends on the basic features of blockchain can be developed without anyone's permission. So again, that is correct. So you have 1 and 3 as the right option for this question. We would be covering the next set of questions in the upcoming videos. Stay tuned for updates from our side, and definitely we we would be bringing a quick paper analysis as well. For more details on the detailed explanations and questions, just follow the link below.